Hey guys, just came back from watching Evil Dead 2013, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on this video, but before I go into it, I must warn you, towards the end of this video, I'm going to throw in some spoilers. So if you want to see this movie for yourself, just end the video. I will warn you again when it's going to come up, but for the beginning part, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to give you a basic idea of it, my thoughts on the movie, and then I'm going to do a little, kind of, not really a rant, but I guess you can call it that. But just weird things that I caught in the movie and I'm really confused about. Alright, so let's get into this. Alright, so the movie starts off, you have 5 teens. They all look like adults though, but you can never really pass for teens when you got all these guys have beards, girls are all fully grown. But anyway, you have the scholar, but who's very curious, and if you watch the trailers you know this. And you have the black nurse, and you have the muscular dude whose sister is Mia, which you might remember the name if you watched a lot of trailers, and she's the one who gets possessed. Now that's not a spoiler. If you watch the trailers, it spoils it. So ha! And you also have the blonde chick. And there you have your 5 people. And the reason they're at this cabin, Mia is a drug addict, and they feel like taking her here will prevent something that happened in the past to make her get sane again, get off her drug addiction, and so she won't go insane, because this isn't the first time they took her to this cabin, but every time they do, she freaks out, says there's something in the woods, and they leave. So they take her here this time, and they are really intent on keeping her there. So they try their best, keep eye on her, and it's cool because, in the first few minutes of this movie, they do a little throwback to the old Evil Dead, and they have Ash's car, it's all messed up in, the trees, and it's all mossed up, and Mia's sitting on it. And they even have that little necklace that Ash gives his girlfriend in the movie. It looks different, but it's still the same thing. It's got the little mirror on it. And, yeah, these throwbacks, I'll talk about them later in the spoiler part, but, if you've seen Evil Dead, you know that they go into the cellar. But in this one, they find a bunch of dead animals hanging from the ceiling, and there's a burnt, a wooden pillar that's burnt, and it's got blood dripping out of it. And you have the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon, and you have Ash's shotgun right next to it, the shotgun shells, and things that you might remember from the old Evil Dead that are right next to the book. And the book's wrapped in a trash bag, and it's got barbed wire on it. And the guy with the glasses gets alone with this book, and he's like, this barbed wire, maybe if I cut it, I can read this book. That doesn't seem like it's hiding anything, And, yeah, the scholar, the smart guy, ends up, wanting to dive into this book, but it's understandable. This movie takes place, back then where everyone was superstitious, and, they believed in all this stuff, how in Jumanji, they buried the board into the ground, hoping that no one would find it, because it's possessed. But if they did that today, then everyone would be kind of skeptical, but this takes place back then, because it's a remake. But I'm gonna argue with that too, in the spoiler part. And once the guy starts reading out of this book, he finds, scratched out things, and when he's turning these pages, there's, giant red words that are saying, okay, you know what, you could stop here, or, you know what, just don't read it. This is really, really bad. If you start reading this out loud, then shit will go bad. And he's just like, whatever. And he starts, he puts a lined piece of paper over scratched out things, and he starts scratching it, and letters start coming out, and he reads it out loud. And there goes the stupid guy. The scholar is the stupid guy. So I guess the blonde chick is jobless now. And, yeah, now Mia ends up going to the woods. It's raining, and she ends up getting, the trees, the woods, they're all possessed, they're all trying to kill you, and the way that this changed it up a lot, because in the original Evil Dead, the tree just went to the girl, and she ended up getting possessed, but in this one, there was a little girl who, before she got possessed, was watching her and controlling it all, and then, something, comes out of her mouth, and it's it goes, and it's ugh. I don't want to describe it, but it's nasty. It's kind of, fetishy. But, this movie it's really scary. They over-exaggerated how scary it was in the trailers, but it definitely did not disappoint. There was a lot of parts that just made me go, oh God, you know, or like, you just see something, you're like, ugh, oh God, you're like, oh God, it gets disgusting, and they show it just brutally happening, and you're trying your best to just look away, but you can't. You don't want to be a wimp. And yeah, now I'm getting to the spoiler part. But basically, my thoughts on this movie, I give it a 7 out of 10. The reason I give it that are my reasons coming up in the spoiler reasons. But for my regular reasons, I give it a 7 because it didn't really live up to its hype. Don't get me wrong, this movie was really good. But they over-exaggerated how scary it was. I mean, I've seen scary movies. It wasn't the scariest movie I've ever seen, but it was pretty terrifying. And, yeah. Now I'm getting to the spoiler part, so if you want to see this movie, turn off the video. Turn it off. If you're still watching it, then I know that you want to listen. Okay, so now, the book has 5 different pages that have a different picture on it that depict when this demon will come out of hell and annihilate the whole entire world. And while this is happening, it'll rain blood, and the world will come to an end. Now, in order for it to activate, the soul that goes into the different bodies has to possess 5, it has to digest or consume 5 different souls. Now, when the movie starts getting to the end, there's only about 4 that have been possessed, and the main character guy, who's like kind of your Ash character, and he shoots a shotgun at a gasoline barrel, and it explodes and it ignites the cabin in flames. And you have the possessed scholar in there who ended up getting possessed, yes. And Mia's outside, she's purified, and the guy dies in there, and the demon only has 4 souls. And now it seems like it's all over. Mia's sitting there crying. She's holding that mirror necklace in her hand. And then a drop of blood comes from the sky and lands on the mirror. And I'm like, is it raining blood? Is this demon going to awaken? And you see a hand come out. I'm like, yep, demon's going to awaken. And that, I ended up talking to my dad and my roommate about this later. And it's like, if you're going to make rules with like a demon book in a fantasy story, you know, then follow the rules, because it's going to confuse a lot of people. And I guess they kind of just forgot what they were doing and wanted to add the demon fight at the end, because they didn't want it to just end with Mia just crying and it's like, happy ending, yeah. But, yeah, it's Evil Dead. There's really no happy ending. But, and another thing, if this was a remake, which I got confused, I thought it was a sequel, because Ash's car was, it looked like it was destroyed, you know, and you have a lot of throwbacks to the old one. And my roommate was saying how, no, this was a remake because the chainsaw was there that Ash had attached to his arm when he cut it off. And the shotgun was still there, which he took with him after the second movie. Now, I thought of this recently. I'm like, okay, they drove in here with a modern Jeep. Now explain that. And not only that, the chainsaw was orange. And the one that Ash had was red. I know I may sound like a nerd just going crazy, like, no, that's not right. No, that's not accurate to lore. But it's true. It really will confuse a lot of people. I mean, there are a lot of hardcore Evil Dead fans out there, including me and my dad. My dad's a bigger fan than me. I'm not going to say I'm hardcore. I'm just a fan. Because I haven't seen Army of Darkness yet. But I will soon. And, yeah, if you're going to do a lot of throwbacks and just, like, try and make it look like a sequel, because they were in the cabin for a different reason, and the book wasn't how it was before, and there were a lot of the items were still destroyed there from the old movies, so it made a lot of people think that it was a sequel. But my roommate thinks it's a remake, but I'm not sure. This is really confusing. It kept me at a loss. But yeah, those kind of things in the movie kind of just took it out for me, because it was good, but you don't want those hanging things in a remake, you know? Like, you're remaking a movie, in order to live up to what the old ones could be, and your goal is to try and make it better. Now, most remakes nowadays, they just keep it as straight as possible. Like, they don't change really anything, they just have different actors and it's the same exact story, you know? But when they try and change the formula for a remake, it's a risky move, but sometimes it might be good, which is what this movie was. They changed a lot of story elements, but I still think it's a sequel, but my roommate thinks it's a remake. So you guys can comment, ask what you guys think, but if you've seen the movie. But I'm sure the people who started watching this in the beginning have stopped watching. So, yeah, Evil Dead 2013. There's jump scares in it, but it's like what happens after the jump scare will be forever engraved into your brain. It is scary. And I was twitching even before the movie started, just thinking about how scary it would be. You know? I mean, I started covering my ears during the movie, and I haven't done that since I was, like, really little. Like, this movie brought back, like, a lot of, I don't know, I guess, because I was a wimpy kid. I used to be scared of the, like, Brendan Theater's intro thing, where he, like, flying in the spaceship and stuff, and I'd hide in my dad's lap. I'm like, is it over yet? Is it over? But, yeah, and now that I'm more experienced with scary movies, seeing this one was actually really uplifting to me. I know that kind of sounds demented, but it's uplifting because, you know, there isn't really that many scary movies released now. And a lot of them try to be an old movie, and there's so many remakes. And this was a remake. And it's kind of ironic that a remake ends up being one of the scariest ones of this time. I mean, I know this year just started, but I think it kicked ass from last year's scary movies. I mean, this is really good. I can't wait to see what the rest of the year can do to, you know, scare us. But Evil Dead, try and top that. This is one of my favorite remakes of all time. Yeah, it was really good. And I can't wait to get it on DVD. So thank you guys for watching this. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Like my page on Facebook. This has been RT Online. I'm Ryan. I'm scared. And I want to sleep.